Welcome to Be Now for Tuesday, June the 13th. My name is Don McLeod, and as usual, I'm joined by Fazal Khan. Faz, how's it going?
I'm good, Don. I just got in from the rain. I was riding in the rain today.
Yeah, I can see that basically you haven't had a chance to fix your hair. Like, what is that? Like,
I had my helmet on, and then I had I had a rain jacket on, and then I'm not. This is the first time I rode in the rain, so I didn't know the etiquette. So I put my rain jacket on, and then I put my helmet on top of the hood for the rain jacket. And I don't know if that's the etiquette or if there's a special rain jacket that goes over the. I don't know these things.
What? There's an etiquette to riding in the rain?
Yeah,
I don't think it's called etiquette.
I don't want people staring at me. Look at that guy.
No, they're probably staring at you because you're wobbling around on the road and stuff like that. So you know what? You know why it's important to listen to the local news or local broadcasts like we do?
We're not news, Don. Let's
media. Let's say media, right?
Yeah.
You know why it's important to listen to local news or local media outlets? In any way, shape, or form. You know why it's important?
So you know what's going on, obviously.
Yeah, because we know what's going on at the ground level. So how long ago did we say Bonnie was going to be running for the Liberal Party?
I'd say last year.
Last year we told you, right? That was an inside.
Yeah, right after Doug Ford won.
Exactly. And guess what happened today?
Bonnie Crombie's running for the top job in the province.
Exactly. Just like we said, right?
When did that happen, actually? I missed that.
It was registered today. She's officially registered.
There was no big splash?
Well, she put something on her page saying, stay tuned for a big announcement, blah, 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 blah. And then, somebody checked the register, and yes, she's officially running for the Liberal Party of Ontario. She has put her name down. So
I wasn't watching the international news, but your cousin was charged or something like that today.
Why? What?
Isn't he your cousin or something? You said you're related to Donald Trump?
Oh, yeah. Put old Donald to 37 counts. All right.
Yeah. Did 50,000 people show up like they were estimating?
Yeah, I think there was maybe 5 or 6 people. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Anyway, Donald is in a world of hurt, so he should be. Classified documents, you just can't take them home and put them in a bathroom. But that's south of the border. But north of the border, we're going to be talking to Darshan, who is a local blogger, and a Cassandra of types, as we say. He says stuff and nobody listens to him, but eventually
I listen, Don. I listen.
Oh yeah, well, okay, well, we listen. We take a look. He's a man of the people.
But let's be honest, Don. He has a lot of followers, and so a lot of people read. And I am always amused when he tweets something slightly controversial. How many people start responding, and it gets shared, and it's and. I gotta mute the conversation because I can't handle it on my Twitter account.
Well, anyway, we're going to talk about something that we talked about 6 months ago. We talked about the international students coming over to Canada and basically getting hoodwinked back in the homeland. Like, we have a large Punjabi population, large Indian population in Brampton. It's affecting a lot of people on the ground here because I think India is one of the biggest importers of students, not importers, but exporters. We have a lot of Indian students that come to Canada basically for, to get a better education, land an immigrant status, so on and so forth. So we are going to talk to Darshan. We're going to bring him on right now.
I'm the button pusher, right?
You're the button pusher. Darshan, how's it going?
Doing well. Thank you, Don.
Good. So you're the expert on this because we know that you're on the ground and you went back to India and you saw firsthand what was happening. Tell us a little bit about this. Give us a little bit of background about the situation in regards to Indian students coming to Canada to study and get a degree.
Well, Don, basically, international students, the study part is only a backdoor to immigration, or it is a way to get immigration. So there is a mad rush there. When I was there, I saw, the whole activity. I could only call it industrial scale activity. And nothing wrong with that, as long as everybody gets what they expect or what they are promised. But that's not happening. So what happens is, first of all, the international student is paying maybe 3 times the cost of tuition compared to a domestic student. But then you have all these so-called pop-up colleges that are running in a small plaza somewhere, or even noted universities like Cape Breton University, where Globe and Mail did an article on that. 72% of their student body is international, and almost all of them are from India. And the university does not even have the physical facilities to teach those students. So, according to that Globe and Mail report, they were holding classes in a movie theater before the screening of the movie begins. I was talking to someone who is from Cape Breton, still has a base there, and he told me that there is no housing there. The university has made absolutely no arrangement, and students are paying $1,000 to be in one room of a house. And naturally, that creates a financial stress on them. Then they have to work.
So this is something that basically is not only happening in Brampton or Peel region, because this is something that's basically been brought forth. I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. The housing crisis basically for international students is something that's not new. It's been going on. Basement apartments in Brampton, where I think at one time 20 students were living in the basement of one small apartment. So this has been going on for quite a while, and it's not only in Brampton. The universities or the colleges, so you're making 3-4 times of charging an international student for a domestic student. What's their responsibility for this?
Well, I think they should be responsible for providing the most basic thing that an international student is going to need, and that is residential facility. Because they are international, they are not domestic. They are
Yeah.
going to need a place to live.
So
And
go ahead.
Yeah, but so that's one of the issues, though, Darshan, is just the student, the process of getting here as a foreign student for education. But more recently, there's been a lot of chatter on social media, and I'll be honest, I have not been following it, about students potentially getting deported. Maybe update us on what is the situation on the ground right now, because it seems like politicians are scrambling to figure out how to solve this.
And why are they getting deported now?
well, allegedly, their original admission letter on which they arrived here, on which their visa was issued, was fake. So what I've heard is from some students, what happens is that they get a fake letter, and then the diplomatic mission in India issues them with a visa. They arrive here, then they are told by the agent not to go to that college, because the agent knows that the letter is fake and the college is not going to see the student's name in their list of admitted students.
So the agent in, let's say, India, right?
Mhm.
The agent in India tells like the parents, they want a good education for we're talking a lot of money here to send a kid over, to Canada. So they're scraping their life savings together. They bring the kid over. They talk to an agent there who can facilitate the admission and everything else into Canada based on a student visa, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So from there, the student or the agent makes up a false admission letter to a university. They could say, okay, McGill University or whatever college has accepted you, no problem, right? And that's good enough to go to take to the Canadian Border Services or admission directly into Canada. Is that correct?
No, they have to apply for a visa at the diplomatic mission in India.
Okay, so they
Then
have
they are
that
a-
paperwork from the agent, and that gets them the visa, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Then
so
they arrive here.
yeah.
The agent tells them that please don't go to that college. There has been an issue with your admission.
Mhm.
Then somehow they arrange an admission in another college, which is now legit.
Either legit or not a legit.
No, it's legit, because when the boy or girl goes there, their name has to be there in the college's records.
But it's not the same college that they had on the thing. So,
No.
where's the solution to the problem? At the point of the High Commission?
Hang on, I'm
Yes.
still confused though, because I think Don, maybe you know more than I know about the situation. So they come to Canada. The agent says, "Oh, it's a different school you're going to now." They go to school. They graduate school, from what I understand. And then what happens when they graduate school? Shouldn't they be going back to India?
No, they take a work permit. That is within the rules.
Okay.
That's the whole vision in their minds, that they'll do a course for maybe 2 years, 3 years, whatever. Once the course is over, they can apply for work permit. And once they've been here on work permit for 3 years, they can apply for permanent residency. Not everybody gets approved. It's maybe 60% of them, but they can apply for permanent residency. And then after so many years of being on PR, they can become citizens.
So at what point is, I guess, the Canadian immigration officials figuring out that original document was fake? At what point is this happening now?
5 years after the person's arrival in Canada, when they have finished their graduation, they have done 3 years of work permit. And now when they apply for permanent residency is when CBSA comes back saying your original admission letter was fake. Therefore, you made a false declaration to enter Canada and therefore you have to be deported. That's where the problem is coming from.
Right, and that's what happened to the student that just recently. He came to Canada in 2017, and they wanted to deport him. And I saw recently that Rupi Sahota intervened and stop the deportation so they can take a look at it. He came to, like I said, in 2017. It's 2023 now. So there's your 5-year period when he applies. So the work permit also is very specific in how many hours you can actually work as well. You can't work a 40-hour week on a work permit. Isn't it regulated to 20 hours or something like that?
No, let me tell you. During their studies, that used to be the case, 20 hours maximum per week, but that has recently been relaxed to 40 hours.
Okay, all right.
So that is a question in itself as to someone working full time, 40 hours a week, how they are going to study. But that's a separate issue.
Yes.
But once they have finished their studies, they can get full time work, 40 hours.
So Darshan, who is committing the fraud here? Is the student unaware that their agent is doing this, or are they complicit?
Allegedly, I mean, the court has not, I mean, the case has not been decided yet. So allegedly, it is the agent in India who is doing this. Now,
is it just one case that we're talking about?
Oh no, there's many
one case is in discussion, but I'm pretty sure that this goes beyond that. This seems to be a fairly standard practice over there. And first of all, if you consider it to be a case of fraud and therefore a criminal case, then the crime happened in India.
So yeah, and we have a large, we're talking Indians at this point in time, but we import students, or import them is a kind of a weird word to say, but we bring foreign students into Canada from different countries. We bring a lot in from China. They go to BC. This doesn't seem to happen with any other country except more than India at this point in time.
Very good question, Don, because this happens, from what I have seen, almost exclusively in colleges, not in universities. Right. And Chinese students come to universities.
Right.
And the ones I have seen, and I have seen many, they are absolutely top-notch talent. So they aren't interested in any hanky-panky.
Right.
They go the legit way. They come to reputed universities. I attended the convocation of University of Toronto, was it last year? And like more than almost half the students were of Chinese ethnicity. They could have been, born here maybe. But almost half of the students in the Faculty of Engineering who were graduating were of Chinese ethnicity. So their case is different. Yeah. This fraud, from what I have seen, is happening largely in the case of students who come to colleges.
So here's the big question. You have the Indian government, you have the federal government, and then you have the colleges. Somebody can stop this at the point, right? Whether it be the Indian government or the Canadian Commission issuing those. What is the easy, or what is a possible solution to this problem? Because otherwise it's just going to keep going on.
Yeah, from my perspective, if every college sends a list of students that they are admitting in each semester to the diplomatic mission where that student is supposed to apply for visa, then the problem will cease to exist.
Yeah, but Darshan, that solution doesn't require hiring more staff and technology, and it seems a bit too ridiculously simple, Darshan.
We can throw in a few scanners, then somebody will get the business, but at least students won't be victimized. And then,
Or maybe how about this, Darshan? An email from the consulate or wherever in India to the school verifying this person.
absolutely. I
I
mean,
think we already have that technology too.
yeah, they have email.
Because at some point somebody's checking this letter now, right? When it goes to deportation. So maybe the issue is, okay, the government is saying, well, let's just wait until they graduate, they come here, they work, they pay taxes, and then we're going to send them back. Versus, well, let's catch them before they even get here.
See, these are the things that fuel the argument that immigration and international student policy are meant for cheap labor. There's this argument, and this kind of a thing fuels that argument. Because the guy worked here, even when he was a student or she was a student, they worked here for whatever hours were allowed during their study. After that, they worked legally on a work permit. They paid taxes, and then when it comes time to get PR, they are said they are told, sorry, go back.
Right, and they're also paying rent. They're also paying high tuition fees. A lot of people are
Yep.
benefiting from these students coming here.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and there was an example recently of people basically protesting outside of a business, basically, that said the owner was not paying them. And if you're working under the table during that time, the owner basically, he can say, I'm not paying you the wages, or I'm paying you lower wages, because you're getting cash and you're not declaring that income.
Yeah, actually, there is a group in Brampton that helps these kids to get their back wages that were withheld by the employers. It's an ongoing problem.
Now, you also mentioned, because we did some texting beforehand, you talked about the human trafficking of young girls, girl students that are coming to Canada. They don't have any kind of family connection there. They're more vulnerable, obviously, than young men. Go into that a little bit, scenario, because that seems to be a growing problem as well, human trafficking.
Yeah, this was a shocking report that I saw in a very prominent Gujarati daily. It's, I think, number 2 or number 3 in terms of daily circulation. It has existed for the better part of a century. So it's not some odd, weird publication that we are talking about. And the headline shocked me. It was warning parents that their daughters could be at risk of being trafficked as international students in Canada. Now, there are
So
components.
they were calling out Canada specifically,
Yes,
as
Canada.
a country, to watch out to send your students to Canada because this is happening in Canada.
Yeah, and it also said that the traffickers are also of the same ethnicity, most of them.
Yeah,
So,
well, that would make sense, because they're taking
Yeah.
advantage of the situation in regards to international students. And if you're coming to a new country, you're basically going to hang out ethnically with the same people that basically you're comfortable with, right?
you are even going to rent from them,
Yeah, well, yeah.
right? So what has happened of late is that the increased cost of housing has created additional pressure on the students.
Yeah, and then
Because-
when you get how many students packed together because you can't afford $3,000 a month, you've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe possibly up to 20, all sharing the same facility. Yeah, that's a little bit too close for comfort.
And I do think rents are on the way up. I know somebody who is moving out of her condo with a roommate, going back into their parents' house, because the renter, who has multiple units, knows the laws and is raising their rent by $1,000 a month because they can get it. And so, when we're talking about student housing, there's no long-term leases. Students are coming and going. So whenever a new student comes in, you can charge whatever you want. So, Don and I, Darshan, were talking about what to label this episode, and I put the word crisis at the end because I think this is a crisis. It's part of this bigger crisis in general for students who are Canadian youth, and I just don't see a short term solution here because of the way cost and inflation is going. A change of government is not going to fix this. I think we're at a point now where like some serious solutions have to be put in place. Either we put a halt to these students coming into schools, and that in itself is going to cause chaos because I think a lot of their funding is coming from these students.
I agree
Any
with
solutions on potentially ideas that you have?
I agree with you 100%. This is crisis, and if there was a bigger word than crisis, I would call it that. But the initial mistake, which now we are too far deep into this crisis to solve, was not requiring colleges to create residential facilities for students. You are getting 100 students, we are happy for you. Where are they going to live?
Yeah, those
If
were
you
the
can't
days.
show us where they are going to live, no, sorry, we won't approve the visa.
Yeah, and you know what? Those were the days like when I went to university in Montreal, Concordia, I went to. I mean, the rents, you could get basically something for $100 a month, right? $150 a month. So you're working your part-time job. It was triplexes and so on and so forth. You could do actually on campus at Sir George Williams if you wanted to. And the university had places that for students. You take a look at, some colleges around the area in Peel region, they don't have any. They have very limited facilities, as you said, Darshan. And, basically they have a crisis team to, help people find them, but they're not going to lower the rents. The rents are, even if someone's working or a family member's working, just to have, rent a house or an apartment is expensive.
Yeah, and locally, I mean, I believe it is the primary responsibility of the municipal politicians. And I remember back in 2019, this issue was being discussed in Brampton Council, City Council. And two councillors said that in the previous year, 2018, when they went out campaigning, they saw up to 25 students living in one basement. So if I had been there, my first question would have been, did you report it to the authorities? Because this was obviously in violation of a bunch of codes. They did not, because they cared more for the 4 or 5 votes of the homeowner's family than about the welfare of the 25 students who were crammed together like sardines in a basement. So it starts with that.
But this is also from my perspective anyways, a national problem. I'll give you an example from my daughter who goes to UBC. She's now going into second year, and she does not know, including herself, any second year student now who was able to get on-campus housing. And from what she's been told, there are a lot of students, so-called students, who are taking one course just to keep their residence on campus because going off campus is significantly more expensive.
Yeah, you can calibrate that, right? That students who are having more courses, who are regular students, they get priority. And if you're just taking one course, then you are at a lower priority.
Yeah, but the way the system works at UBC, anyways, is once you're in
once you're in
a second year or above housing, you can keep it as long as you're a student. And if you want to sublet it in the summer because you can sublet it. You go through the university, but you get to keep it back in September. So there's a lot of second year students at UBC. My daughter especially. Luckily, she found a place who are scrambling. And so, one problem in one area propagates down and, everybody gets affected, right? As you said, having housing for students, if you want to increase your student population makes a lot of sense, but we were far past that now.
Yeah. And you can't do 100% capacity, but I mean, if you're like Cape Breton, where you said where 70% of their students are international students, well, there's got to be, and if they only provide a 5%, on campus, to me, that's a large discrepancy. That's basically you're throwing students to the wolves and saying, yeah, we want your money to come to Cape Breton University, but at the same time, we're not really worried about, the other, if you have 5%, we're not worried about the other 65%. You guys are on your own. To me, that's not, number one, that's not like a fair statement as a university. And basically you're there for higher learning, and they're just basically saying, well, yeah, too bad. We're more interested in your money. But this is only going to be exacerbated in Peel with the breakup appeal as well.
Yeah, and kids are living maybe 20, 30, 40 kilometers away because that's the only place where they can get a roof over their heads.
Yeah.
And then trudging over to the movie hall to attend a class. It's a complete chaos. I don't know, whoever, if there was anyone who looked at the policy, because this doesn't look like a policy to me.
No, it just looks like wide open Wild West, and say, yeah, okay, well, and
it will be a political issue, right? Whatever election is next, provincial, federal, the party who's trying to win is going to say this is a problem, that government caused it, but I really doubt they're going to have a solution to this problem.
No, as I said, we have gone too far deep into the problem, and unless we just shut everything down and then plan everything out and then do a reboot, otherwise this is not going to come back on track.
Yeah. Well, this is something that basically a lot of parents have been fed. I've been saying it for years. I mean, I did, go to university, but the universities have been transitioned, and colleges are no different. They've been transitioning into more of a business model than an education model. And they've been doing this for years and years and years, trying to, selling the dream that, your little Johnny can't get ahead unless he gets a BA, an MBA, and possibly a PhD. He's never going to have a great job. So they've done a good job at selling, the idea to parents that Johnny needs a BA and a university education. But let's face it, not everyone is, cut out to be a university graduate.
Yeah, and beyond that, see, this whole thing, international student thing, is a multi-billion-dollar business. I will only call it business, and it's multi-billion-dollar. So there are definitely people who can, exert pressure on the policymakers not to change it because they've got a good gig going.
They do, absolutely.
Yeah. So Darshan, this, like I said, this problem is not going to go away. We'll probably have you back on talking about it, what they're talking about in India, because as you said before, they were talking when you were in India, it was front page news. It's only, as Faz said, it's only going to get a little bit worse. But I just want to segue off into that for a second. What do you think of Bonnie running for the Liberal leadership?
I'm against it. First of all, no, I'll give you my reasons. First of all, has she resigned as mayor?
No. Does she have to? No.
She doesn't have to, but that's something that I'm not comfortable with.
Suppose she wins the leadership, then she should resign, right?
Then she should resign. But even before that, I think we have chatted about this first.
Yeah, did Doug Ford resign when he was running?
He wasn't anything when he was running.
No. I think his brother, Rob Ford ran when he was in. No?
Rob, yeah, he was a councillor and then he ran for.
Yeah, right. So he was a councillor then, and we've had politicians that were sitting councillors running for provincial seats and didn't resign at the same time. So it's not like an unheard of policy.
But aside from your moral objections, Darshan, what do you think about her as a candidate, maybe?
I think she represents the old guard or the old school of thought in Liberal Party. I'm not talking about politics.
I wouldn't disagree with that, but who represents the new guard?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that is true. They have a serious problem nurturing talent. Well, probably all parties do, but
we had this conversation, Faz and I, about 6 months ago, and or actually during the last election when they brought up, all the old guard to run again, and it's like they just seem to be regurgitating old candidates on a regular basis with no new ideas. Do you not think that Bonnie will actually attract more younger, sort of vibrant people into the party?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Well, we'll see. I guess because I agree with you, Darshan. That'll be the interesting part. If it's the same rehash of candidates across the ridings, 100% she's not going to win. So I'm looking forward to maybe seeing fresh faces, more women, more diversity, more competition for those nomination places, positions, because I think that's critical. So,
Well,
but we'll see. If we see the same names we've seen in the last election under Del Duca, there's no chance.
Yeah, and it's like, rather than just have, men, women, whatever, I'd like to see some intelligent people running that have good ideas, rather than just the tried and true, like
trained seals, you mean?
Trained seals talking points that are regurgitated by their leader. If that's something that I seem to think that we've missed in politics for, I don't know, many, many years. I mean, you have people with very, I don't know, limited intelligence is a good word, but they don't seem to come up with any new ideas. And basically, they are just towing the line to get their pension, and then that's it. They've done nothing.
They represent the party in the riding instead of the other way around.
Exactly.
Yeah. There was I think an opinion piece written by, I forget his name. Who was the federal conservative leader after Andrew Scheer?
Erin O'Toole.
Aaron O'Toole, right. So I think he's leaving his MP.
Yeah, he's leaving. Yeah, he gave his speech.
And he wrote a little article basically saying, warning us that, politicians just seem to be working to get the algorithms of those social media platforms to share their message, rather than how politics used to be, where you talk to the other person, you talk to people, and you kind of hash out issues, rather than just be the loudest voice on social media.
Well, Aaron O'Toole, that's not exactly great coming from him. He's the one with the, pointing to the latrine, saying, like, if you're going to preach about higher politics, you got to practice it as well.
He's going out, right? I always like to hear what people say.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, so going out is one thing. If you're going to actually do it and stick to your principles, stick them all the way. I have more respect for, and I'm going to tell you, when Ed Broadbent was running against Pierre Trudeau, that's the closest that the NDP ever got to forming a government.
What decade was that done? How many decades ago was it?
It was in the 70s. Just relax, take it easy. Some people are older than you and wiser.
I lived
Darshan
in the 70s.
Knows.
I know Ed Broadbent, but it's just that's
but I mean, Ed Broadbent is someone who actually stuck to his policy, and he didn't. I respect people like that. I don't care what party you are, as long as you've got some sort of moral, ethical value. I think that's more important than what your party represents to some degree, right?
Yeah. Sure. All right. On that, Darshan, we will talk to you hopefully again soon. Unless everything settles and we know there's no controversies anymore.
Well, I'm sure that's not going to happen soon. But
thank
you for joining us, Darshan. We always appreciate your point of view. We may differ at times on social media, but you all understand that, different points of view are more important for democracy than anything else.
And wherever you are, I want to be there. That looks beautiful.
That's his home. He's living in the mountains. That's, he's high above us. He's high above us.
I'm in a tropical paradise.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Darshan, for joining us. Oops. We will see everyone next week. Thank you for joining us, Faz. I will talk to you later.
I wanted to talk to you some more, but I guess we can do it next week.
No, we'll do it next week.
Let me, I'm pressing the wrong buttons. I wasn't ready for this. Okay, bye, everybody.
Thank you.